The ocean has always been one of the most beautiful sights on Earth. Calm waves, endless blue water, peaceful coastlines. But when nature changes its mood, that same ocean can become a monster in minutes. And no country understands that fear better than Japan. For centuries, Japan has lived with a terrifying truth. One day the sea can sit quietly under the sun, and the next day it can rise like a moving mountain, smashing cities, swallowing roads, tearing families apart, and leaving behind silence no one can explain. That is why Japan did something shocking. They decided to fight the ocean itself. Not with weapons, not with prayers alone, but with one giant wall stretching across parts of the coastline. A wall so massive, so expensive, and so controversial that many people around the world could hardly believe it existed. Some called it genius, some called it madness. But here's the twist. This wall was never built to stop water completely. It was built to buy something even more valuable than money. Time. And in a tsunami, a few extra minutes can mean the difference between life and death. To understand why Japan created this giant defense system, we need to understand the nightmare that pushed them to this point. Japan sits in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. It lies near several massive tectonic plates deep under the ocean floor. These plates constantly move, grind, and collide. Most people never notice it, but when pressure builds too much, the Earth suddenly snaps. That is when earthquakes strike, and when those earthquakes happen under the sea, the ocean above gets pushed upward with incredible force. That movement creates giant waves that race across the water at terrifying speeds. Those waves are called tsunamis. Japan has suffered from them again and again throughout history. Entire villages have vanished, fishing towns have been wiped away. Generations have grown up hearing stories of black water rushing inland, carrying cars, houses, trees, and people. Still, nothing prepared the country for what happened in 2011 Tōhoku earthquake and tsunami. On March 11, 2011, one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded hit off the northeastern coast of Japan. The shaking was violent, buildings trembled, roads cracked, but the earthquake was only the beginning. Soon after, the sea rose. Huge walls of water rushed toward the coast at speeds faster than many vehicles. In some places, the waves climbed over barriers, smashed through towns, and pushed miles inland. People ran. Some made it to higher ground. Many did not. Homes disappeared in seconds. Families were separated forever. Streets became rivers of debris. Boats landed on rooftops. Entire neighborhoods looked like they had been erased. More than 15,000 lives were lost. Thousands more were injured or missing. Communities were broken overnight. And as if that pain was not enough, another disaster followed. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant suffered catastrophic failures after the tsunami struck, creating a nuclear crisis that shocked the world. Japan was wounded physically, emotionally, and financially. But what nobody expected was what came next. Instead of accepting defeat, Japan began planning one of the boldest engineering projects in modern history. They would build bigger seawalls. Not small barriers, not symbolic fences, real concrete giants designed to stand between millions of people and the next wave. Across vulnerable coastal areas, especially in northeastern Japan, construction began on enormous seawalls, reaching heights of around 12 to 15 meters in many places, and sometimes even higher depending on the location. Imagine standing beside a structure as tall as a 4-story building, stretching for long distances along the coast. That is the scale Japan was thinking on. But how can a wall protect against something as powerful as a tsunami? The answer is smarter than many people realize. First, the wall helps reduce the direct force of incoming water. A tsunami wave carries incredible momentum. If it hits a town without resistance, it can move inland with incredible power.
But when that water crashes into a massive reinforced barrier, some of that force is absorbed, redirected, and slowed. That matters. Even if the wall doesn't stop every drop of water, reducing speed and pressure can dramatically lower destruction behind it. A slower wave means fewer buildings collapsing. A weaker surge means less debris flying through streets. A delayed flood means more people can escape. And that brings us to the second purpose of the wall: warning time. Japan has one of the world's most advanced earthquake and tsunami alert systems. Sensors detect earthquakes quickly, sirens sound, phones receive emergency warnings, trains stop, authorities order evacuations. But warnings alone are not enough if water arrives too fast. The seawall creates precious extra minutes. Minutes for parents to grab children, minutes for elderly residents to reach higher ground, minutes for schools to move students, minutes for panic to become action. Those few minutes may sound small in everyday life, but during a tsunami, they're priceless. There's another clever part of Japan's design that many people never hear about. Some walls are shaped to deflect water rather than simply block it. Curved surfaces can push energy upward or backward, weakening the forward rush. Offshore breakwaters in some areas also help disrupt wave energy before it reaches land. So instead of relying on one defense, Japan uses layers. Ocean barriers, seawalls, warning systems, evacuation routes, raised shelters, strict building standards, public drills. That layered strategy is what makes the system powerful. Because Japan knows one painful truth: no wall is perfect. And that honesty may be the smartest part of all. Japan doesn't claim these walls can defeat every mega tsunami forever. If a truly extreme wave comes, water may still overtop barriers in some places. Nature can always surprise humanity. But the goal is not perfection. The goal is survival. And survival often comes from reducing disaster, not eliminating it.
Still, not everyone supported these walls. Some local residents were angry. They said the giant concrete barriers blocked beautiful ocean views. Fishing communities felt separated from the sea that had fed them for generations. Some worried tourists would avoid coastlines hidden behind gray walls. Others felt the structures were emotionally painful, daily reminders of tragedy. Imagine living beside the ocean your whole life, then waking each morning to a giant wall because the sea once tried to kill your town. That carries emotional weight no blueprint can measure. Yet many survivors saw it differently. To them, the wall was not ugly. It was protection. It was memory turned into action. It was a promise that the people lost in 2011 would not be forgotten. And perhaps the most emotional part of this story is that Japan did not only build concrete, they rebuilt trust. After disaster, people often feel helpless. They wonder if anything can keep them safe again. Japan answered with engineering, planning, and discipline. Children are taught evacuation drills. Communities practice emergency routes. Towers and shelter stand ready. Technology constantly improves, and the wall stands there as a silent guardian. Not because humans are stronger than nature, but because humans refuse to surrender to it. There is also a deeper lesson hidden inside this project. Many countries wait for tragedy, then mourn, then move on. Japan mourned, but then prepared. They understood that climate risks, rising seas, stronger storms, and seismic threats are not problems solved by hope alone. Preparation costs money. Preparation takes years. Preparation can be unpopular, but disaster costs far more. The billions spent on seawalls may seem extreme until the next tsunami comes. Then the real question will not be how much it cost. The real question will be how many lives it saves. And that is impossible to measure in simple numbers. Some people will always ask, can a wall really stop the ocean? Maybe not completely, but it can slow it. It can weaken it. It can create escape routes where none existed.
It can turn chaos into chance, and sometimes chance is all people need. Picture a future warning siren in a coastal Japanese town. The ground shakes, phones buzz, families run uphill. Behind them, a wall faces the sea. Water crashes forward. The barrier takes the first hit. The wave loses seconds, then minutes, and somewhere above that coastline, a child reaches safety because of those lost minutes. That is what the wall was built for. Not headlines, not pride, not to prove humans control nature. It was built for that child, for that family, for the next town that deserves another sunrise. Japan knows there may never be a permanent solution to tsunamis. The earth beneath the Pacific still moves, pressure still builds, the ocean still holds terrifying power. But instead of waiting helplessly, Japan chose resistance. They chose planning over fear, action over despair, memory over denial. So when people ask how this wall will protect Japan from a tsunami, the answer is simple. It protects Japan by buying time, reducing destruction, strengthening evacuation, and giving millions a fighting chance. And sometimes, in the face of nature's greatest fury, a fighting chance is everything.